Welcome to a soggy New Jersey Motorsports Park. It's round 3 of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship. Hello everyone, I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time AMA champ Jason Pridmore. And Jason, this is the Dunlop pre-race show, and we are standing right here in the area where Dunlop fits these tires. Nearly 100 entries in all classes, and I'm going to tell you, going from dry tires to wet tires, these guys have been humping all morning long.
Yeah, nobody works harder at the races than the Dunlop people, and today they're going to be really busy because we've got a very soggy and wet New Jersey Motorsports Park.
And it doesn't have the most grip of any track we've ever been to in the rain, does it?
No, it's pretty slick out there. We've seen a lot of incidents already this morning, just in practices and warm-ups. So, you know, hoping the people are going to be safe today. We got 2 great Superbike races coming up. It's going to be a long day.
It's wet and it's chilly. Temperatures are even going to reach 60 degrees, and that affects the riders as well. But the big thing is rain tires. Yeah, we talked about it, you heard about it, but here's Christy Lee with more.
That's right, Greg. The correct tires are absolutely essential to racing in wet weather conditions like today. Now, typically, we would see racers on race slicks, but look what the water does when it gets on a slick tire like this. It actually even sticks to the rubber, so they're not going to get any traction whatsoever with a wet surface. Now today you'll see riders on these Dunlop rain tires. Obviously there's a difference in the groove pattern from the front tire to the rear tire, but really these are all about channeling the water away from the tire, allowing riders to get some traction in the wet conditions. So today these are absolutely critical to riding in the rain.
All right, thank you, Christy, and of course, Jason, there's plenty of it. Rain here today in Millville, New Jersey. You know what, Jay, let's take a look at morning practice because it was wet since we woke up this morning, and the riders had a chance to go out there and test these conditions. And here's the #1 plated Cameron Beaubier on the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha.
Yeah, this is Cameron, you know, pushing hard in the rain this morning, testing all this stuff, and just look how relaxed he is on the bike. You see him going through all the little puddles. The big thing you worry about is hydroplaning, and you know, this is going through the big, long right-hand turn 8 and 9, and if you watch his throttle hand here, watch how it snaps off and watch what it does to the rear wheel. As soon as he rolled that throttle off, Greg, the way the front tire was loaded and how he was tipping it in, it just brought the rear of the bike around that fast. And in these kind of conditions, you can see how sopping wet it is off the edges of the racetrack. Also, it looks spectacular for us.
Safe!
But yeah, it's one of those things where it can happen so fast in these conditions.
Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team right now going through some body work as Josh Hayes dumped 2 yesterday in the wet dry conditions basically, and now Cameron Beaubier does that this morning. And we've had these 3 races in the last couple of weeks. So here's the Suzuki weather report, Jason, and we talked about it there in the open. It's only 50 degrees. 7-mile-an-hour wind, but when you're going 160 miles an hour down the straightaway, it sure gets cold.
Yeah, and the thing you worry about the most, not just the cold, it's the hydroplaning. You've got it. The conditions when it's like this can change lap after lap depending on how hard it rains. I'm sorry. So when you're out there and you're paying attention to the conditions, there's rivers that go across this track in certain places. So on these bikes, even where you just saw Cameron crash, it looked like there's a little bit of hydroplaning, and that's what we've got to be careful with today. Right now, it's kind of a steady rain. It's not raining really hard, but it'll puddle up.
So with the rain falling right now, it's 50 degrees. It's chilly. You can see jackets on everywhere, umbrellas all over the place. When we get to racing, though, the conditions are really going to dictate lean angles as well, Jason, because as the rain keeps falling the way it is right now, we expect to see the puddles and the way the track has remained the same. But if the rain lightens up a little bit and the track starts to settle down, you can actually see riders leaning over and dragging their knee in the rain. That's pretty gnarly.
Oh, yeah. Well, these tires, you know, we were lucky enough to go down to Dunlop earlier, and the tires are amazing in the rain. Most track day riders, when it rains, they don't want to go out. I always encourage it. I think that riding in these conditions will teach you an awful lot about how well you ride because all the ego gets taken out of it as a track day rider, and learning in these conditions is fantastic. These guys here, they're testing the limits of adhesion all the time, and like you said, you've got to make sure that you're on your game. You got to, every lap it can change. You've got to really make sure of what you're doing from corner to corner here. And but the tires themselves, they channel so much water, it really can give you a false sense of security really quickly.
We're live here on beIN Sports for MotoAmerica Superbike race #1 of the weekend, round #3. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the conditions, riding style, and all kinds of stuff. You don't want to go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back. New Jersey Motorsports Park, the site of round 3 of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship on a day that is, Well, unpredictable. It's going to be unpredictable to see what happens in this race. This could be a race that starts to set the championship on its ear as we look at the points both in Superbike and the Superstock 1000 class. There is Tony Elias, second in points and newly signed for Yoshimura Suzuki. We talk more about that later on in the show. Elias with a big smile on his face. And one rider who's up there in the championship in the Superstock 1000 class is Bobby Fong, and he's with Christy Lee.
Bobby, as we're standing here on hot pit wall, there's about a half an inch to an inch of standing water. How was it on the track?
It was pretty slippery, a lot of standing water, but we're just going to play it smart in the race. There's going to be a lot of exciting things going on out there the first few laps, so I'm just going to try to maintain and just be smooth and smart and try to get this Kawasaki on top of the box.
How much do you feel it's a risk in these types of conditions chasing the championship?
Well, it's early in the season still, so we have a lot of races to go, but I just got to stay calm, and because there's a lot of people going to be antsy out there to get towards the front soon, but in these type of conditions, patience is your friend. So.
Best of luck today, Bobby.
All right, there's Bobby Fong, and Bobby Fong likes to wear the Dainese leathers, and he has D-Air in there that helps protect him. What is it? Well, here's more.
That our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you very much. CJ Wetstein.
All right, there you go, national anthem. Jason, we talked about Bobby Fong's D-Air suit, Dainese suit. What is D-Air suit all about?
Well,
D-Air specifically.
Really what it's about, Greg, is getting all of us riders more protected, and there's a system inside the suit that will actually what's the best? I'm trying to think
Inflated
of the word.
airbag.
Inflate, yeah, thank you. It inflates, Greg. So it actually will inflate and protect your collarbones and shoulders and things. And Dainese has always been at the forefront of rider protection, as it is anyways, and with their boots and their gloves and everything else they do. But we're seeing their technology get introduced into a lot of other brands too, because they've been able to get into some of the other. You look around the world and you see some guys in different brand suits, but they got the D-Air system in them. So they've really come to the forefront in helping us just protect ourselves a bit more.
So airbags in suits, great technology has been developed over the last decade. Other manufacturers also involved in that technology, and it works on a computer system actually, right? I mean, same
Right.
technology that's built into your iPhone in terms of accelerometers, those types of things, algorithms built into a computer. I mean, you could see it, and some big names with Dainese too. Valentino Rossi, Nicky Hayden. You could see in some interviews, you'll see lights flashing on their suit.
Yeah.
That indicates that that system is armed.
Yeah, and you can download it. When you're done riding, you can actually download it. You can look at your lap times. You can do all kinds of things. So there's a lot built into the back of the hump there of the D-Air suits, and it's amazing how far. We talked about tires earlier on, how far they've come, even in this rainy conditions. It's amazing how far leathers and things like that have come along, even helmets.
Safety going to be a key issue today, because in these conditions, anything can happen at any moment. You've got to stay 100% laser focused on what you're doing. And when we come back, we're going to have more from New Jersey Motorsports Park as bikes start to head out on the grid for our pre-grid ceremonies. Stay with us. It's round 3 at New Jersey.
This segment is brought to you by Dunlop. Accelerate your soul.
Welcome back to New Jersey Motorsports Park. Motorcycles getting ready to roll out here on the sighting lap, getting ready to get race number 1 going. And Christy Lee is down with Hayden Gillum, who qualified 4th.
Hayden, you got to experience some wet conditions on the first day of practice. Obviously, the conditions are a bit different than Super Pole yesterday. What's going through your head before race?
Right now, it's just it's anyone's game right now. Our plan is just to go out and try and get a good start and try and stay away from some of the stuff that's going to happen. You know, we're just going to try and play it smart. We have 2 races today, and they're both looking like it's going to be in the rain. So we're going to figure out what it's like the first race, and if we do good at the front, then, you know, that'll be good. But the second race is where we're going to really show what we have.
Good day for you yesterday. Good luck today.
All right, thanks. Hayden's got to get his helmet on and head on out. He seems a little pensive on that one.
No, you know, Greg, when you have to change your way of looking in races like this. Some guys are going to go out there aggressive. Some guys are going to be comfortable riding in the rain. This is the ultimate equalizer. We look at our Suzuki weather again here. You know, again, it's 50 degrees, and we've only got a slight breeze today, but the rain is just kind of constant. It's not really hard. But what Hayden's saying there is, as riders, we don't want to think about accidents and things that are going to happen. But the reality of it is when you have 30, 40 bikes going off into turn 1, that middle part of the field is going to be tough. We talked earlier about how a super stock bike could legitimately win at New Jersey Motorsports Park before we even came here and we knew the weather. Hayden Gillen qualified 4th yesterday and almost put it on the front row in the dry. And in the rain, I think he's going to be even more dangerous. He's done an outstanding job.
This track does have a half a mile straightaway, but at 2.25 miles, Jason, it really is a rider's track. Here's a look at the Yamaha track map.
It's a great track, Greg. I really love coming here. Down into this front straightaway is obviously really fast. Turn 1 is going to be a major passing point. Look for turn 3, 4, turn 3 and 6 to be the 2 left-handers that we might see some incidents in because of the first left-handers really on the track. And the rain is not going to be such a big deal. We go down to 7, a little bit off-camber, fast downhill right. 8, 9, 10 is all actually one big, long corner. That left-hander turn 11 is where we saw Cameron Beaubier slide off earlier. We watched him come through those S's 12, 13, leading onto a very fast front straightaway through turn 14. 130 mile an hour in the dry, so very fast.
And here's a look at our Yamaha onboard lap. And Jason, this is with Josh Hayes in the dry yesterday.
Yep, we're going to hear him go up through the gears. And when you come into turn 1, Greg, you actually can't see the entry very well, so it's a little bit blind. We're going to get down to the curbing here. Now, this is the one blind turn we have here. You're going to see him get as close to the curbing as you can, run it out over towards the curbs, down this hill. This is, again, very bumpy. You're going to see the bike moving around quite a bit here. You got to be careful with your tip in here. Now, we're going to probably do a quick short shift out of here, off camber, up until what we call the wheelie hill here at New Jersey. You're going to see the bike just kind of get a little bit elevated into a very fast kink that we have at the end of this back straightaway. He's going to go down one more gear into this tight turn left, turn 6. We saw a lot of incidents here in the cold weather. Now we're going to come out, use as much exit as we can, touch those paints. We haven't been able to do that very much this weekend. This is into the now fast downhill right-hand sweeper. This is all going to be one gear. You're going to hear him back shift into 2nd, probably at the bottom of this hill. And this is that one area, 8, 9, 10, that actually gets taken all as one big long corner. He's got somebody in front of him here. He's going to, looks like Braden from the Australian Supersport champion. He just rode around. This is a tight little left. Now, there's a couple patches in here you're going to see that the riders like to try to avoid, especially the one he's going to come through right now on his rider's right there. Now, it's all about straightening this stuff out as fast as you can. Curbing to curbing, up through the gearboxes. You're going to go right under the A of Auto Parts, flick it into this right-hander, run it out to the edge, and that's a really fast lap. One that we're probably not going to get to see today here, but that's a fast lap in the dry.
Those are the lines. If you come down here and do track days, as a lot of people do, or maybe even race down here, those are the lines that Josh Hayes chooses to race, and he's won here 11 times, so he definitely knows it. You can see that riders are out on the pre-grid right now, or they're heading around the track as crews are out there with umbrellas. Let's take a look at how they qualified. Cameron Beaubier, who we saw crash earlier today, was your pole sitter from yesterday at a 21.390. Next to him, Hayes, Roger Hayden, and Hayden Gillen. We talked about the first of our super stock machines out-qualified Jake Gagne and Tony Elias, who had to come through the pack all day long, including Super Pole number 1 into 2 to get that position. Bobby Fong, Eslick, and Larry Pegram, the fill-in rider for the M4 Suzuki team for this weekend. Wyman Anthony and Steve Rapp.
Yeah, and then we go back to row 5. Very surprised to see Josh Herron and Taylor Knapp so far back. Both of them had great Atlantas, and we're going to go Sheridan Marias on the outside of row 5. Claudio Corti.
Yeah, he's one to look out for.
One of our picks possibly to do it here in the rain. He's been going fast all weekend. Corey Alexander riding the right HVMC Ducati. Great to see Ducati back in the mix. Go back to row 7. Got Max Flinders, Barrett Long, Josh Chisholm, all the way back down through the grid here. So, you know, everybody right now in these kind of conditions has to be thinking to themselves, what do I have to do to just get through those first couple of laps, let things settle down? That's kind of what Hayden was alluding to earlier on. He wants to get a good start, get out in front of that mess behind. But if I'm on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th row, back where even Josh Herron and stuff is, I've got to get through that first couple of laps, Greg, and go from there.
A lot of spray's got to be coming off of these rain tires. Thanks so much for Dunlop and that starting grid. We are going to take a break. When we come back, More stuff happening before this race gets underway. Call your friends, tell everybody that it's a wet race in New Jersey. We'll see you on the other side.
This segment was brought to you by Dunlop. Accelerate your soul.
The clock is ticking towards the start of this Superbike race number 1 here at the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship. It's round 3 of 9 for 16. And we're at New Jersey Motorsports Park as now riders have done their sighting lap. Got a look at the track. And Jason, looking out of our commentary position, it looks like possibly the rain has started to settle down a little bit. And Christy Lee's down on the grid. What do you have, Christy?
Cameron Beaubier, super pole position. Obviously, no place better that you'd want to be, even in these types of conditions. What happened this morning, though?
Yeah, definitely. I just went out, was just trying to get comfortable right away, because on Friday I felt really good riding around here in the wet, and it turns out this morning it was quite a bit more wet than it was Friday. But all in all, I rode the bike back in the pits. My Monster Andrew Graves Yamaha team, they did a good job getting my bike back going. And yeah, we're ready for the race.
Focused, ready to go. Cameron Beaubier.
Beaubier sits on pole position at a 1:21.390. His super pole was done in the dry, but we saw him this morning, Jason, in the full wet, 1:47.1. So you're talking about a pretty solid 20-second difference right there.
Yeah, big difference. And that's what this track is. You know,
26 seconds.
It's so flat that the water doesn't drain very well. So that's why we were talking earlier how it can puddle up a little bit. And Chrissy's down on the grid with Josh Hayes.
Josh, we're trying to huddle together and warm up. It's getting a little bit cool out here. This is a strong track for you. A little bit of a rough weekend, though. How are you feeling now?
You know, I'm doing all right. I'm a little banged up, and no worse for wear, really. But, you know, weather like this always kind of throws a wrench in the works. We definitely all, I think, prefer to have a dry race to hammer around on. But this is what we've been gifted, and, you know, I just try to ride a smart race and make sure I'm there at the end. If I can get through the first half of the race, I feel like I'll have a good shot. You know, if some guys are going to be heroes and can go really fast, I don't know what I can do about it. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to ride the base the best I can.
Best of luck, Josh.
I love it. So he said hammer, right?
Yeah.
Hammer and hero. So the hammer part of it, Jason, I think, is you can hammer it when it's dry, but you've got to be smoother when you're riding in these conditions.
Absolutely. And there's a guy who's won 4 championships. He knows how to bring a bike home. That's what all of our top contenders that are kind of up in the front right now are thinking about, bringing this bike home. Who you got, Christy?
Here with number 95, Roger Lee Hayden. Roger, currently leading the championship point standing, which has always got to be in the back of your mind. But what's your game plan going into race time?
My game plan is just to try to get a good start and, you know, just check out the track and be smooth and hopefully see the checkered flag. Try not to do anything too silly, but this track's really tricky in the wet. But the Yoshimura Suzuki team's worked hard all weekend. We got on the front row. That's what we wanted to do, and see where we are after we get off the line.
That's your points leader on the front row.
Roger Hayden sitting on 76 total points for the season with his teammate Tony Elias now 1 point adrift at 75. Josh Hayes in an uncharacteristic 3rd spot with Jake Gagne in 4th. Josh Herron, the first of our Superstock riders, in 5th in that championship, Jason. But, you know, I think Roger's doing the right thing at this point. He's really, you know, he's focused. And it seems like the veterans of this sport are really going to sit back and see what happens in this race and not go crazy.
They're all saying the same thing, but that front row, the most important thing for them is to get off to a good start as we look at Hayden Gillum. You know, the thing is that when you're on that front row, you got to take advantage of your starting spot, even if you're not going to be one of those guys that, like Josh said about being kind of a hero. You still want to get out in the front and get out to where you get some clean track. And, you know, Raj, as much dirt tracking as he's done, these kind of conditions aren't going to phase him too much, but he's still going to be smart about where he needs to be. This race pays as much as any of the rest of them, and the important thing is you can lose championships on days like today. You know, you cannot win this thing today. They're not going to be handing out the #1 plate at the end of the day. But if you lose a big chunk of points, we got 2 races today in these conditions, and that can play a big factor as the year plays out.
Jake Gagne there on the Broaster Chicken Road Race Factory Yamaha R1. The Superstock 1000 champion from last year, now moving up into the Superbike class. He has qualified in the 5th spot ahead of Yoshimura Suzuki rider Tony Elias. And of course, Jason, Tony Elias in the news this weekend because he was actually signed, as we look at the 24 right there. Elias to race in the United States for the entire 2016 season by Suzuki.
Well, what he did is he took complete advantage of a situation. He got a call after Jake Lewis got injured, and we're all wishing Jake the very best. We know how talented Jake is. He's going to come back stronger than ever, but Tony comes in and wins the first 3 out of 4 races that he raced in, and made a big impression on the team. And you know, when you have a guy like all of a sudden come in and score 75 points and lead in the championship at that stage anyways, it was pretty hard for Yoshimura Suzuki to not do that, which means signing him. So, and we were laughing because the poor guy had to go through qualifying 1 yesterday because the conditions haven't been very optimum on Friday. And but he made it through qualifying 1, got to qualifying 2, ended up 6th. And we're looking at Bobby Fong here, who's just done an incredible job this entire season. I think what we're looking at with Bobby too is he's just matured. He's the way he thinks, the way he talks, the way he's going about his race craft, and how he's thinking now. You heard what he said. He's going to do his best today. He wants to put it on top of the box, but he knows where he's got to be there at the end.
Dirt track legend Joe Kopp, working with that team and working with Bobby on his head, kind of said to me earlier, you know, if you're going to take a test, think of the test as the race. You got to study beforehand.
Yep.
So now that mindset you're talking about, the team, Bobby Fong, they're really focused in practice on practice, not in practice on just doing an outright fast lap. And I think that that's been a huge jump for Bobby Fong.
You have to practice how you're going to race. You know, I hear it all the time at different levels of racing where, oh, I'm going to drop a second or 2 come race time. Well, you know, that might work to a certain part, but when you come to a MotoAmerica National here, you've got to make sure that you're up to speed in practice.
Here's how they're lined up: Bobier, Hayes, Hayden, Gillum, Gagne, Elias, Fong, Eslick, and once again Larry Pegram. That's going to be your top 3 rows. But really keep an eye on row number 6. We saw Claudio Corti, the Italian, who loves racing in the rain, second fastest this morning, only to Cameron Bobier, and he's on an Aprilia.
Yep.
That twin, it makes good power, it makes good. He even said, though, that he changes everything, Claudio Corti. He changes geometry, suspension, electronics. They pull 30% of the power out of that super stock bike to race in these conditions.
Gearing, everything. And he was very adamant. The thing I'm going to watch with him is he's got to come from that 6th row. You know, when you look at New Jersey Motorsports Park, once you get through turn 1 and turn 2, it's a little bit one line through that next little chicane area. So it's going to be a matter of him being able to get a good solid start from that back row, not get himself into any trouble. As a rider, my plan in this kind of condition was to always think about not putting myself in a spot where somebody else can dictate what's going to happen to me. So you've got to kind of be patient in these kind of things. And I think with the pace that he has shown in the rain, Claudio Corti is going to be there at the end, especially if it gets up in the front. The other guy I think that we got to talk about that I've seen do really well in the rain is David Anthony. David Anthony is another guy who's done really well. He's struggled a little bit this year. He's Bobby Fong's teammate, but he's slowly but surely getting a little bit closer in the dry, and we know he does well in the rain. I've seen him put it on the podium in the rain many times. We look at Steve Rapp going through, Danny Essick, Larry Pegram. It's great to see Larry back, and he's done a great job so far on that bike, having never ridden it before he got here Friday. So all these guys right now on their out laps now are a little different than if it's dry when we're trying to put heat in our tires. Yeah, we're trying to do that in the rain also, but we're analyzing the track conditions a lot more in the rain.
The riders getting set right now as they roll up to the red flag, signaling it's time to stop. Get in your grid position. Superbikes have a lot of power. They do have launch control, but did the teams have enough time to get into the electronics and work on the spin as the clutch gets dropped here, because you don't have as much grip at all? And one thing you want to notice too, Jason, is that a lot of these riders are going to have these extra knee pucks. Alpine Stars has them, that they're extra big, and that's so they can get a feel for the track if they can carry a lot of or enough lean angle to drag their knee. And I'll tell you what, the way these track is right now with no extra rain falling, we might see some knees down here in a couple of laps.
No question. You'll see it anyways in some of the corners, and we're getting ready to go here, Greg.
So it's time to go racing. Superbike race number 1. You'll see upper left part of your screen. Those red lights will go on. When they go off, race begins, and here we go. Who's going to get it down to turn number 1? Roger Hayden there in the middle part of your screen on the 95, but it looks like Josh Hayes on the number 4 will get the nod as Cameron Bobier tries around the outside.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's getting to that first turn safely. That's the main thing right now. But yeah, Josh off to a great start. Got the exact start he wanted. He knew his teammate was quickest, and his teammate's already gone through before they get over into the turn 3-4 section.
Cameron Bobier not scared about that crash this morning, putting it out of his mind, and now leading the way as we can see Claudio Corti on that red and silver Aprilia getting up into the mix early on from row number 6. 6.
I mean, I think he's like 5th or 6th place, Greg. That's an incredible start from the 6th row. So, and Josh Hayes has gone back past Cameron.
Josh Hayes now takes the lead around his teammate Cameron Beaubier. So now Hayes is feeling really racy in the early stages of this race. Hayes trying to find the feel on that Yamaha R1. Oh, and look at Beaubier again up and out of the saddle. Josh Hayes too with a little wiggle on the rear.
You can see just how slick it is. And this is all downhill section here. You got a pack of Suzukis chasing those Yamahas, and then Claudio Corti right behind him. They're coming in here out of the turn 6 area, and there's like no lean angle. You can see them both just trying to get the power to the ground. That bike's moving around. That's going to be a long race. That's like that for 18 laps.
So here we go. Josh Hayes leading the way on the number 4. Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team. 4 Superbike championships to his credit. He's won 11 times here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. He likes this place, no question about it. As now Hayes, still you can see it's those puddles, right?
Just moving around, yeah. They're just kind of hydroplaning over a few of those puddles. And this is a section where we come back onto the front straight. We can see the gap that they've pulled already. Now, Cameron knows this morning he went minute 47. So when they come across the line this time, obviously it's their first flying lap. The next lap by, we're going to be able to really have a look at the time. They just went 48.2 from a standing start.
Oh,
so that's pretty fast.
Beaubier.
Cameron goes underneath Josh down into turn 1.
So Beaubier late on the brakes. Now, if you're wondering, the dry race was set for 25 laps. Because of the extended lap times with these conditions, the race has been shortened to 18. That's why you see we have 17 laps to go. So Beaubier with that aggressive move into turn number 1, he really did get a good drive coming onto the front straightaway. I think it started way back in the S section.
Agreed. And now we're going to just see if Josh is going to let Cameron go, or if he's going to be able to, Cameron's a little bit further back in the points right now. And this is the hard part, because these guys have already got a huge gap. So I'm sure the Yamaha team is preparing their boards right now to let Josh know that he's got a big gap in second. And Josh wants to put pressure on Cameron. He realizes that Cameron's a little bit further back in the points, but he wants to put pressure on him, Greg.
Cameron Beaubier is 7th in the points. He's got 38 to 76. So the difference right there is actually 38 points. And there's a good look at Claudio Corti on that Superstock 1000 Aprilia machine. And Corti, really, we had a conversation with him yesterday, and he's already 3rd right now, is the 77. He's got a lot of experience in Europe. Claudio Corti is very, very much into rain riding. He's the 2005 Euro Superstock 600 champ. He's raced in Superstock FIM Cup. He's had wins there, Moto 2, and he is looking good right now.
Yeah, and you can see they've got a very good rain setup on this Aprilia. He talked to us about it yesterday, and you can also see the pucks that he's using. Back up at the front here, Josh isn't letting Cameron get away.
So Cameron Beaubier, the reigning champion right now.
This is good for Josh, because now he can just kind of pace himself. He's going to let Cameron. It's pretty stressful leading these races, because especially if you keep seeing +0 on your board, you don't know how fast you can go. So the guy that's following here can actually judge his pace off of what he sees in front of him. And look at Larry Pegram. How about this? Larry hasn't raced, I think, in a year. And he just comes out and he's running in 4th place right now. What a great story for him.
Just about a year. Larry Pegram found out about Chris Ulrich, who is now officially just the team manager of this M4 Suzuki team. Chris Ulrich having some injuries over the years. They were just too much to handle, decided that it was time to focus on managing the team. Larry Pegram heard about it, made a phone call to John Ulrich and Chris Ulrich and said, hey, I'm going to come ride for you next week. They came to an agreement, and here is the Worm 72 back on a motorcycle here in the United States. But Pegram fans, so far it's just for this one race. As we go back up front, Beaubier continues to lead. Number 4, Josh Hayes.
And the track conditions are kind of telling me that we're looking at the lap times here. They're at 44 flat. This morning, when we watched warm-up, it was raining really, really heavy. So for him to do the 47 like he did this morning and be quickest, they're already doing 44 flats. Both him and Josh are in the 44s. Track conditions are definitely improving. Like you said, we can see out of our window here that the rain has kind of subsided and stopped. So that's going to put a little bit more heat in the tires and get the guys a little bit more confidence, and maybe not so much hydroplaning.
Yeah, Hayes went right through that puddle right there. Just totally didn't care about that. As Hayes now starting to keep, I guess he's keep the champ at bay, although it looks like Beaubier is kind of eking out a little bit. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, as the locals will tell you, this is Millville, New Jersey. Anything can happen with the weather, and if you looked at the weather on the map, we're in a pocket of non-rain right now, but it is all around us. And with 15 laps to go, it could start raining once again and really turn this race on its ear.
Yeah, the conditions were supposed to be a lot worse than they actually were. So we're actually pretty lucky to have the conditions we got right now, and it is getting better.
Take a look at the Dunlop running order on the bottom of your screen. That'll tell you that Hayes is in second, Cordy's in third, Pegram's in fourth. Gagne is now past Hayden for sixth spot. Danny Eslick, Elias Alexander in the top 10, as is Steve Rapp. So a good look at Claudio Corti. We talked about that super stock machine. The interesting thing is when they tested this motorcycle earlier on in the season, it wasn't to his liking. And he said, he made comments, hey, wait till after COTA, wait till Aprilia MotoGP sees what we're doing. And that's exactly what happened. By the time they got to Road Atlanta, they have a system set up now where they download the data, send it to Italy via the interweb, and they make changes to the electronics and shoot it back to them. So by the time they get to the track in the morning, they can upload it to the electronics of this motorcycle. That is a tremendous help when you're running a super stock machine.
And what's even cooler is that we're seeing that kind of interaction now from the world back over here into MotoAmerica, which is exactly what we wanted to do to get our series more competitive. So to have somebody like Claudio Corti on that Aprilia doing so well, and you know, we're back looking at Larry. I'm so pumped to see him doing as well as he's doing right now. But it's neat to have that we know that now we're getting more plugged into the world again, like we've been missing a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, in this series right now, you see Larry Pegram, who was on an EBR racing machine. That company went bankrupt. He lost the deal in World Superbike. They've now reopened his EBR motorcycles, but it has nothing to do with Larry Pegram, as he tried to put a team together for 2016 to come MotoAmerica Superbike racing and just couldn't get it together at the last minute. So a good opportunity to show people, hey, I'm still here. And Pegram seems to be reeling in for it right now.
It looks like he's reeling him in a little bit, and Gagne's coming. Gagne's got by Raj, so now he's coming forward too. But Pegram put it on the podium here on a Buell, if you remember, a couple years ago. So he's another guy that's got a lot of rain experience around this track. Here's Jake Gagne. Here's a guy that we thought at the beginning of the year was going to be a little bit more in front more often, and he's come and he's told us some things that they've struggled with and they're trying to get better and work through. This is the kind of race that's going to hopefully give him a lot of confidence. Like I said, he's got by Raj. It looks like he's trying to catch up. We go a little further through the field here.
Tony Elias in 9th spot. This looks like a good battle going on for 9th between Elias, Steve Rapp, Ryan Jones, Josh Herron there in 12th spot on the number 2. So Jones on the 83, and there goes Rapper trying to go around the outside right now.
How about Ryan Jones? Ryan Jones this morning was 5th or 6th, I believe, and this guy's come from the 9th row. What an outstanding job by him as he's getting ready to go by Tony Elias. This is going to be something he's going to be able to tell people about later on. And Steve Rapp's going to try it too as they go into this little kink, turn 5. You see Josh Herron back there. You see Hayden Gillum back there. And there goes Rapper. Rapper's going to go just to the inside of Elias also. Now, one thing I will say is our tracks here in America sometimes don't have the same amount of grip as the tracks in Europe. So it's probably something that Tony's having to get a little bit used to.
The Dainese battle for 9th right now, the bottom part of your screen, as Ryan Jones from Inwood, West Virginia on the Frisco Tap House Yamaha R1 doing great work right now, as you would expect Tony Elias, who's got obviously European experience. We talk about it, you know, it rains a lot in Europe during the course of the year. When you're in the MotoGP series, you're at these FIM homologated tracks, and so they all run in the rain unless it's like some crazy hurricane like we saw in Indianapolis some years ago. So they have a lot of good rain experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you sit there and you look at Ryan almost just tipped over. I don't know if you saw it. Now we're going to go look at this. This is Danny Eslick and Corey Alexander battling for 7th. This is a great story. This bike here that Corey is on was in a dealership not that long ago.
Not that long ago, last week pretty much.
And he's getting ready to try to line Danny up and see if he can do something with him down in turn 1.
Corey Alexander out of New York, falling back in line on the 69. So Alexander on that Panigale doing a great job. You can see that tank is unpainted. It looks cool, folks. We know it looks cool, but it's completely unintentional because they got these tanks from Italy on Friday.
And this is the battle for 2nd in Superstock.
Last week, by the way.
Yeah, it's the battle for 2nd in the Superstock class between Danny and Corey. And I think that if you're going to come to a track on a brand new bike that you've never ridden before like Corey has, these kind of conditions might make you smile in the morning, because we know in the dry he was working on some things. Here he goes. He's trying again.
Oh, no,
he's being nice and patient right now. Let's see if that continues.
Corey making the comment, these are, we can tell you that, oh, there goes Corey now up the inside on Danny Eslick. Corey Alexander, who won his first race at at this level, not in the Superbike Superstock class, but in Supersport AMA competition a couple years ago, was at Miller Motorsports Park in the rain. So we know that Corey, he's got a smooth riding style. He's a larger, taller rider. He's definitely skinny, skinny, skinny. But you could see the size of him on that motorcycle. Richie Alexander, who is the owner of this whole program, said that they were able to send this ECU to Ducati Corsa and get a super stock flash on the ECU, but that doesn't affect the stock settings, folks. If you own a Panigale right now, Corey Alexander's racing on stock traction control settings, the same ones that you can use on the street. And look what kind of job he's doing right now as Danny Essick now falls back on the 69.
I'm a little familiar with Corey, and I'll tell you one thing that this kid has. He's got the most incredible throttle control on the edges of tires. That said, he texted me before this race and said, Jason, I have no idea what I'm doing out there. So back to the leader here with Cameron Beaubier.
Cameron Beaubier definitely has an idea. What he's doing is he's done a 140.768, continues to lower the fastest lap of the race. Is Beaubier now, again, same part of the track. It just keeps lighting up the rear end right there. And Beaubier just not scared of it, as now Josh Hayes is 3.7 seconds adrift. Claudio Corti still holding on to third spot, but not going any faster than the leaders. But this is for third overall in the Superstock win for Corti.
Absolutely. And you know, when you look at what Cameron's doing, you want to make sure that any geometry that you do through the throttle, by that I mean you don't want to roll the throttle on too hard. You don't want to roll the throttle on too off. We're in that little section this morning where Cameron had his little incident. You can see how he's rolling the throttle off there. Pay really close attention to how Josh and Cameron are rolling on and off the throttle and rolling through corners. They're trying to keep their roll speeds up. There's not going to be a lot of lean angle. There's not going to be a lot of aggressiveness with the throttle or your tip ins. Everything you do when you ride in these conditions has to be completely smoothed out. The speed that you carry into corners, it's okay if you run a little bit wide. Your speed isn't going to be as much as it is in the dry, so you're not going to use up as much track as quickly. So just when you're at home and you're watching what they're doing, be cognizant. Look how little Cameron's moving around on the bike also.
Looks absolutely smooth. Now, Jason, as I look back in the field here, everyone who started is still racing. I think that's not what we expected when you have 7 laps in the books. I think one thing to take into consideration, too, as Larry Pegram continues to reel in Claudio Corti there, the 72 reeling in the 77, is that there is race 2 this afternoon, and you've got to keep these motorcycles together.
Well, I'm glad you said it, because I was thinking it. I was thinking just what an incredible job every one of these riders has done so far, and that's great. And we got Larry Pegram. He's right up the back. And, you know, again, I wonder what Larry's thinking. He's thinking, I wasn't even planning on racing. Now I'm in New Jersey, and I'm battling for a podium.
Continues to stay fit. He pedals the bicycle. He does some car racing, some dirt track riding still. So Larry knows that he's of value to this racing series and continues to stay fit, as now Larry Pegram looking for a way around the Italian Claudio Corti on the Aprilia. And I'm going to tell you something, Corti for sure wants to know that Larry Pegram is right behind him on that pit board. He likes to have his information correct and concise, and Larry Pegram right now is on the gas and headed for a podium if he can make the pass and keep it on 2 wheels. And here is Jake Gagne, the 4th of our Superbike riders in the top 5. Gagne, a 42.591 last time by, basically matching the pace of Pegram and Corti. So Jake Gagne, the 2010 Red Bull Rookies Cup World Champion. He spent quite a bit of time over in Europe racing. He also has a lot of rain experience and knows how to go smooth.
Yeah, and right now we're in that middle part of the race where things have settled down. Jake doesn't have guys, you know, right up behind him, and he can see the guys up ahead of him. So you're in that spot now where you're trying to decide, should I push? Is the track conditions getting better? How am I feeling? And you know, we thought when Jake got by Raj, he might reel those 2 in, but Larry's actually pushed his pace and has started to catch up to Corti, which has just dropped Jake off a little bit. But this is a great result for him right now, running top 5. But again, another very, very smooth rider, and I love watching how Jake rides, both dry and in the wet. I love watching how he sits on the bike.
Jake Gagne right now doing good work. And here's Roger Hayden, your championship points leader, all the way back in 6th place. So the number 95 of Roger Hayden, Yoshimura Suzuki, he is back in 6th. If this is the way it's going to finish, he's going to lose a heap of points to the riders in front of him, like Beaubier and Hayes in his championship. But his teammate Tony Elias is all the way down in 14th right now.
But believe it or not, it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Right now, it is okay. In these conditions, you take what you can get. To go try to push and get up to where those guys are, that might have been something that Roger Lee might have done in the past. He's not doing it anymore. Remember, we talked to him earlier on in COTA. He's trying to just keep piling up these points, and he doesn't want to make any big mistakes. Let's just bring this Yoshimura Suzuki home, get the points we need. We got another race today, and then we're going to hopefully be off to better weather as the year progresses.
A good look at Roger Hayden. You can see one of the greatest things about these conditions is you can actually see the rider's eyes through those clear windscreens that they have on their helmets. But you got to make sure those things are nice and clear, because with these cold conditions and these riders working as hard as they are, they can fog up unless you have a special shield. Chrissy, do you have more on that?
I sure do, Greg. This visor is specially designed specifically for wet conditions like this and cold conditions where your helmet's going to fog up. It's just like a double pane glass window. It's actually called a double pane visor from Arai. This is really cool. It helps prevent the fogging, and the riders are rocking this out in this race. They probably definitely needed, Greg.
Nice, Christy. So a double pane windows type thing to keep it from fogging up on the inside, and a little bit of wax on the outside helps to some polish, keep those water beating off the shield, Jason, because when you are in a battle in these conditions, it's very difficult to see.
Well, there's been championships won and lost over visors that have been fogged out.
Yeah.
And when you see the technology again, that's just getting passed along to the consumers eventually. That's what these guys are out there running and testing. And we don't want to be, got to be able to see in these kind of conditions, obviously. So when your visor gets fogged up and you can't see where you're going, it's a definite problem, obviously.
There's a look at David Anthony. So David Anthony right now back in 14th spot on the number 25 machine. It looks like he's caught in a battle with number 300. That's Dustin Medar. Dustin Medar is actually filling in for Josh Day and is Josh Day's mechanic.
Jeez, that's incredible. And you know, he's running top 15 right now, which is just a great job by him. And he's got Bobby Fong right behind him, who's won races this year. So he's out there just trying to get through. And if you look real close, he's got Josh Day's leathers on.
He certainly does. So on those Kawasaki's, those green and white machines, those are latest motorsport racing machines, as opposed to the number 300 on that Yamalu Westby racing motorcycle. Of course, the late Dane Westby was riding that motorcycle until an incident with him. Saw him pass away on the street, actually. And Dustin was one of Dane's best friends and mechanic who works for his dad, Trigg. They decided to keep the program going because that's what Dane wanted. Absolutely. And now he finds himself literally, he got a call from Chuck Giacchetto, who runs his program, on Thursday, said, bring your gear, Dustin, when you get to New Jersey. And they tested Josh Day, and he wasn't able to ride, so Dustin's on the bike. More with Josh Day, Christy?
Josh, I know that conditions like this might not make you as disappointed to be racing today or not racing today, but how are you feeling? Can you give us an update on your injury status?
Yeah, it's going good. Everything's kind of going to plan right now for us, and yeah, I guess it's a good weekend that I picked that I wasn't able to get out there and ride with all the boys, but it's still a shame not to be out there and just get the track time in that they're getting in on us, so we'll move on to the next round and see what we can do there.
Heal up quick, Josh.
All right, you can see conditions starting to change as the rain is starting to fall yet again. So now things might get a little dicey with 8 laps to go as Cameron Beaubier continues to lead the way. His last go-around, a 142.6, but Josh Hayes was able to claw back 0.7 of a second by doing a 41.9. But it was Claudio Corti, the fastest one on the racetrack, at a 40.5.
But it's starting to pour. It is actually,
yep.
I can see it now. It's getting really dark out. It's starting to pour a little bit more. We're going to see these lap times probably go back up. Look at him just trip that bike out of that last corner.
Nice.
That's a very fast turn. And he was able to stand that bike upright and get it drifting. But Josh has actually trimmed the gap down to 4.1. So we're going to see now if Cameron has just been managing that or if it's something that Josh is just ripping along.
Hey, the best person to give us a weather update is Christy, because she's down on pit lane. What's going on?
Yeah, Greg, I'm a little jealous of you and Jason all cozy up in the warm booth, but I can tell you the rain just picked up and the wind picked up. I'm sure the temperature has dropped also. It's getting really cold out here, but that rain is really coming down now.
All right, thanks for soldiering on down there, Christy. No doubt about it. Jason and I both have been in your situation, and it is, yeah, it's wet and cold down there.
It's definitely nicer up here, Christy, for sure. And, you know, it's going to be interesting now to see if Josh Hayes here can see that gap is starting to shrink a little bit, because even when you fall back a little, you're using landmarks and you can see how far somebody is ahead of you, whether they've just come through a corner, out of a corner, in a corner, and you can start to see, because here at New Jersey, you can actually start to see if you're closing in on somebody or losing time on somebody. And it looks like Josh is coming up to maybe lap Tony Elias, I saw, but we'll see, because his last lap was a 4.1 second lead, but it is getting a lot more wet out there.
And we talked about those face shields as well. Now this becomes more critical than ever because you have the rain falling as well. As we look at our beautiful pictures here provided by our camera crew, got to send a shout out to all the people on the stand shooting these pictures, because this is the first of a few hours that they're going to be standing out there in the rain. So we thank the crew. Look at that, a great center shot of Cameron Beaubier's rear wheel spinning up.
And did it again. And when you look at it, when you see it, he's controlling that. He knows exactly at that point how much throttle he can use to get the bike to just do that
even
little
with
bit.
Electronics.
Absolutely, 100%. You get that feel as a rider. You got to learn to love riding in this stuff. You have to. You have to. When you see the rain coming down, you got to figure that half the field right away doesn't want to be here. They don't want to ride. As a champion, you got to be able to say, you know what? I'm ready to go. Let's do the best we can. This is what I put in all the hard work for. And he's just kept the distance about the same. Back to Claudio Corti here. Looks like he's opened up a little bit of a gap now on Larry.
So the rain started to fall, and Corti decided, well, and my guess too is, knowing the way that Corti likes to ride, if he saw that gap go down to 1 second, he probably started to go a little bit quicker than he was going before. So Claudio Corti right now in 3rd place has opened up a 5.5 second gap on Larry Pegram, who is putting on one heck of a charge and could have been that miracle podium that the M4 Suzuki team was looking for from Larry Pegram when they signed him on board this week. A good look at Claudio Corti's knee pucks as well. It looks like he's got a couple.
He's got doubles.
He's got double knee pucks, yeah. They're glued together, where Alpine Stars has been doing this for so long. You can see this. Look at the eyes of Cameron Beaubier.
Yep, and look at him looking up the track. He's trying to look up where he wants to go, and he's going to get that bike stood up. But what a great job by our camera crew, like you said, to be able to get these kind of shots that we're getting from them out there right now in our slow motion. And this is just, everything's just dummied down a little bit. Not as much lean angle as you can see. Still getting off the inside of that motorcycle, but he's not making any big drastic movements anywhere.
But I can also see the way his upper body's positioned. He's got a lot of leverage on the front end of that motorcycle 100%. In case he needs it.
100%.
So Cameron Beaubier continues to lead the way here. 12 laps in the books. We have 6 laps to go. And look how wet it is out there. It's really starting to come down now as Bobby Fong puts his arm out, as Cameron Beaubier goes by. These are the times of the race where you're saying to yourself, oh, man, I wish these laps would just start winding down. We want to wrap this thing up, because it is starting to get more slick as the moments wear on. We told you, it's Millville, New Jersey. It sure looked pretty at the start of this race. Now the rain's coming down sideways in some corners.
Yeah, we've got 5 laps to go here, and now everybody out there is just thinking, I want to just hold my position. I want to just get through this race. I mean, he's now lapping up to 14th place. That was Barrett Long. He went by just now. Barrett's riding an awesome race to be in the top 15 right now himself. He's ahead of Bobby Fong and some others, so he's doing a great job. But it just goes to show you the pace that Cameron's running right now. He's over in turn 6. He's in that little area where we've seen the bike get a little sideways a couple times, and you can see the rain.
There it is.
And how hard it's coming down.
He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care. And he's opened that gap back up to Josh. Josh is going through back markers himself. Look at the guys waving through. They're probably thinking, if I let these guys through, it's one less lap I got to do. So.
That's what I'm thinking. So there's Josh Hayes. Let's reset the order for you. It's Beaubier from Hayes. Corti still in 3rd spot. Larry Pegram in 4th. Jake Gagne in 5th. Roger Hayden in 6th. Corey Alexander in 7th. Only 3.5 seconds behind Raj. Then it's Herron, Ryan Jones, Danny Eslick, and Hayden Gillum. Is now Danny Eslick has passed Jones for 9th. That battle rages on. Hayden Gillum in 11th. Steve Rapp in 12th. Braden Elliott 13th. Barrett Long 14th. And Bobby Fong, your top 15 right there. And look at Hayes. Boy, he certainly has had experience in the rain over the years. He came from the Wira series. He was an endurance racer as well, and he's got a lot of experience in the rain. He knows how to get around lap traffic, how to predict these folks. But right now, this is one line. There's nothing you can do in that section.
He's being patient. Hey, he knows he's got a big lead, 8-9 second lead over Corti. We go back to Cameron here. Champions do. They're just going to take their time. He got by Barrett on the front straightaway, because Barrett's riding, like I said, he's riding on a great race right now. Have a look at him, and him and his father have been doing all these races for a long time. We saw Barrett on a Ducati. Now he's on an R1, and this is going to be a great result for him. But going back to Josh, he now knows that there's 4 laps to go. He's just got to kind of manage, get through this race. This is a big points race for Josh Hayes because of where Raj is and where Tony Elias is. And not only that, but like you said, Corey Alexander's catching Raj. He may or may not lose another place, and that's just going to be more points banked for Josh.
I can guarantee you that Josh Hayes knows the point situation. I understand it's early days in this championship, but you've always got to think in your brain points. Josh has won 4 of these championships and a couple others as well at this level, so he knows what's going on. The difference between Josh Hayes and Cameron Beaubier is 14. So if this ends up the way it ends up, Hayes is only going to give back 5 points to his teammate.
Yeah, that's nothing. If you're gonna lose to Cameron, you only want to lose one spot.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, it's the biggest spot.
It is the biggest spot.
1 to 2 is 5 points, and then but still,
you got to think that Josh is going to win some races this year and flip-flop that way. And why do we always see Josh Herron and Danny Eslick together? Always, right?
We have seen these riders together 4 years, and there is no love lost. Trust me. If there's a place to stick a motorcycle in there, 1 or 2 of these riders are going to do it. And back there is the 83 hanging around. Ryan Jones just holding on to a top 10 spot.
Ryan's got to be having a blast. He's racing against these guys. Just think, gosh, I'm racing with Josh Herron now and Danny Eslick, and I've passed a bunch of other big names. He's doing just a great job. But it always seems like these two end up finding each other somehow on the racetrack. And you can see Danny, they're going to race each other hard. They're going to race each other smart. But as the laps wind down here, there'll be desperation because that is points and that is time that they want to make up.
Josh Herron, you can see trying to be his arrow. Woof, as the 83 is just twitching all over the place. Josh Herron has that style where he likes to stay as close to the bubble as he possibly can. Some of it is aerodynamics, and I know some of it is trying to keep a little bit of that moisture off his face shield.
Yeah, and right now it is pouring as hard as we have seen it. The lap times have dropped a couple of seconds off of what we were. To put it in perspective, Cameron went about 3 seconds that time slower than his fastest lap of the race. So, but this is an awesome battle right here between these 3 guys, battling for 8th place.
I mean, Jason, Hayden Gillum kind of talked about at the top of the show. He kind of alluded to, we expect to see some incidents. He wanted to steer clear of those incidents. We haven't seen anything thus far, but with 3 laps to go and the checkered flag looming about 2.5 laps from now, this is the time when people say, okay, I've made it this far. Now maybe I'll take some chances. As Cameron Beaubier continues to circulate this racetrack, he's put more heat in those Dunlop rain tires than anyone else so far, as Beaubier still trying to manage the grip, as everyone is.
Yeah, everybody is. Everybody's trying to manage what's going on right now. The track's getting more wet. It's just getting more puddles, and that's the thing that you've got to look at is that all through these little sections, he's got to be so aware of how hard it's raining and realizing where it's starting to puddle up. He's got 2 laps to go when he comes this time by. And what he's
There's a blue blob in there, folks. We promise you. There it is.
And look, he's got a big lead. So what he needs to do now is just control himself. And we're going to go back and look at a little bit of replay here. And just keep an eye on that throttle. And you see, sometimes he doesn't even do anything hardly. And it's just moving around a lot on him. And he's shaking his head because he knows that it's just the subtleties that he's doing that are making the bike move around underneath him. But I'm hoping that he's now realized he's got basically a 6-second lead, 5.4 that last time across. He can just back it off a little bit now.
And keep in mind, electronics on these motorcycles, they aren't the greatest. They aren't the end-all, protect-all. I mean, sometimes in these conditions, it happens so fast, the electronics need a moment to catch up, and that's part of the reason why you're seeing what you're seeing.
You're saying
Plus,
it right.
He might actually have a lot of the traction control dialed down because Cameron is a field rider.
Well, I was just going to say that, Greg. A lot of the top guys, they don't want to have their bikes controlled by all the electronics. Those electronics are great for consumers and the guys that we're getting that stuff passed down to. But if you go around the paddock and you ask these guys how much they actually have dialed in, a lot of them will tell you they like them on their minimum settings. So, for these conditions, they might be turned up obviously a little bit, but these guys want to use their throttles to get their bikes doing exactly what it is that they're doing.
Beaubier continues to lead the way. Josh Hayes, Claudio Corti, Larry Pegram, Jake Gagne, your top 5. Then there's Roger Hayden, Corey Alexander in 7th, Josh Herron, Danny Eslick, and Ryan Jones. And I've got to send a shout out to Corey Alexander once again. That Ducati, brand new for this weekend, and that team putting together a great motorcycle. Ducati knows about this effort. They've helped slightly in the effort to get it here. It's Ducati dipping their toe back into MotoAmerica, and this could be the start of what we see from Ducati in the future.
Yeah, we're looking at this last lap, and as we see Cameron go through on his final tour of New Jersey Motorsports Park, really has ridden an unbelievably good race. Josh has done the same thing in 2nd place, but both the Monster Yamaha guys are going to be gaining some big points back. And you can see by our cameras just how bad the conditions have got.
And there we go. Looks like our first crasher of the day, and that's David Anthony on the 25, the latest Motorsports Kawasaki Kawasaki ZX-10R. So David Anthony, who had a couple of incidents so far this weekend, unfortunately, David Anthony has crashed and he is out of this race as we circulate the last lap. And there is the #1 plate, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha. A brand new Yamaha R1 for 2015. Cameron Beaubier took on his teammate and won this championship to grab the #1 plate with the second most wins of 2015. He started this season in dramatic fashion with a DNF. Then Cameron Beaubier had a fourth, another DNF, and then a win. He's trying to get his championship back on track right now, defending that #1 plate with the white flag waving. Can Cameron Beaubier hold on and take this thing to the checkered flag?
And now he's back. He's going to be going back up a tiny little bit of a hill here where you're staying on the right side of the tire quite a bit, but he's kind of back. You can tell, Greg, he's backed it off quite a bit on this last lap. And that's the neat thing, is not be under any pressure on the last lap of a race like this, just be able to try to get that thing home.
Hearts pounding right now in the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha pit as their reigning champ Cameron Beaubier comes around this last left-hander of the track. He'll go through this S as he has a look over his shoulder, looking for any competition. But no, it looks like on a rainy and cold Sunday here in Millville, New Jersey, if Cameron Beaubier can get through this corner, he will take it to the checkered flag as Cameron Beaubier down the front straightaway takes the checkered flag and the win here in race #1 as his teammate Josh Hayes comes across the line as we wait for the third place rider Claudio Corti. As the rain falls, number 77 Claudio Corti will finish third overall on a Superstock 1000 and win the Superstock 1000 class.
Yeah, that's a big deal for Claudio. We talked to him earlier and we asked him if he thought he could put it on the podium, and he gave us a funny gesture, but he certainly went ahead and did it today, didn't he?
He certainly did. So as riders continue to come across the line, these slower lap times, this is the time when you say, look, I'm on the last lap. I just want to finish because we have a race later on this afternoon that we've got to get these motorcycles to. But Cameron Beaubier, what a masterful performance. Early on, we saw Josh Hayes give some shots to Cameron Beaubier, take over the lead, but Beaubier was having none of it. So fourth place just came across the line as we're looking at your race winner, Larry Pegram, with a huge wheelie. So it's Beaubier, Hayes, Corti, Pegram now in the books as Jake Gagne just comes across the line for fifth place officially. Well, unofficially at this point as they roll the bikes in the Parc Ferme area into the controlled area as we await Corey Alexander in sixth spot, as Corey Alexander on the last lap was able to get around Roger Hayden. And there he is. Corey Alexander comes across our position and finishes in sixth place ahead of Roger Hayden. Awesome. You're not looking at those pictures. We're looking at Josh Hayes right now, though. What a great job by Josh Hayes.
That's a big points day, like we said earlier. That's going to be a big points day for him. You know, Raj ended up losing some spots there, a lot of spots on the last few laps. How about Ryan Jones finishing 7th? He got by Danny Eslick. It looked like Josh Herron fell back a little bit. We're not seeing Josh Herron come up on our screen here on the last lap. So we're going to, there goes Josh. Josh just now went through. So maybe him and Danny got together again. Who knows?
Very, very great guy, Claudio Corti. Fun to be around. The Italian with a handshake to Josh Hayes, signaling that he did get third. He will stand on the podium twice today as third overall as well as first in the Superstock 1000 class. Not a bad points haul for Claudio Corti as he didn't come here, by the way, just to race this motorcycle and to learn tracks. Claudio Corti has said he has come here to win the Superstock 1000 championship on an Aprilia.
Well, that's his second one of the year. So he won in Atlanta and he's won here. He did an outstanding job, obviously, getting used to this racetrack. That team, they've done a tremendous job making him at home and feel comfortable on that motorcycle.
All right, the race is done and dusted. When we come back, we're going to talk to the race winner. We'll get this whole thing sorted out in terms of who finished where. It's been an exciting day so far. Race #1 in the books. Don't go anywhere. We talk to him after. Welcome back, everyone. The skies have opened up here in Millville, New Jersey, but we got Superbike race #1, Superstock 1000, race in the books. And it was quite an exciting one, and a lot of people on pins and needles, but Crisili is down in Parc Ferme with third place.
Claudia, what an exciting finish for you and the team, getting third place in race conditions like this. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was horrible condition, you know, after half race it started raining more a lot and was hard, you know, to keep the pace, but I saw that I can, you know, go a little bit faster than the guys behind me, so I was trying just to keep calm. And it was possible at the beginning follow the guys with the Yamaha, but you know, I just have to care about my championship with Superstock, so it's perfect like this.
Congratulations. That's our third place finisher on the HSBK Racing Aprilia team. Let's move down the line and see if we can get in touch with our second place finisher. That's the number 4 of Josh Hayes. Josh, trying to stay out of the wet weather as we all are. It obviously changed during the race. The rain really picked up. How were you able to adapt mid-race?
I was more looking at Cameron up the road from me, and you know, there was a lot of people that we kind of went through as lappers, and so you know, you're just kind of feeling it out as you go. And I was pretty uncomfortable running even that pace, just trying to keep Cam in sight, especially knowing I had a pretty good gap behind me. Then Claudio started riding better and got up there. I don't know if he got through the group or what, but it seemed like he started coming pretty hard for a while, and it was really tough to kind of get yourself charging again and start looking at Cam again. And Cam never went that far, so I was still looking at him and trying to get there. And I thought if he takes it easy, I'll get in there. But he rode too good for me today. I was a little, I wanted to finish this one pretty bad after yesterday. So I'm happy for the result. I'm glad to see Yamaha 1-2 again. Congratulations to Cam. Thanks to Dunlop for taking care of us in this wet weather. And who knows, maybe I can come up with something better this afternoon for race 2.
Congrats on a second place finish goes to number 4 of Josh Hayes on the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha. Let's talk to our big race winner, Cameron Beaubier, pole finish, and then finishing first place in a race like this. I would say it's overall a successful day for you. You rode cool, calm, and collected through the race. Congrats on a win.
Yeah, thanks. It didn't feel too cool, calm, and collected. I definitely had some moments out there, but just got to give it up to my Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team. Man, the conditions today are definitely pretty tough. It started raining halfway through there pretty hard, dumping on us, and the track got even more slick. So, like I said, got to thank my team, got to thank the man up above for keeping us all safe out here, and thanks to all the fans for coming out.
Tough conditions came through with a strong finish. That's the number 1 of Cameron Beaubier getting first place in today's race, guys.
All right, congratulations to Cameron Beaubier. That was quite an accomplishment. And Jason, I have to say again, David Anthony looks like he was the only faller in the field, and that of course came as the conditions just kept getting worse and worse. So congratulations really to the Superbike field for holding on to their races and finishing up. We'll take another break here on beIN Sports live coverage of MotoAmerica Superbike race action, and we will have some more results and some more things going on for you. So don't touch that dial. Yeah, it's raining, but it's a lot of fun from New Jersey. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, we raced in these conditions. The second half of the Superbike race got pretty gnarly here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. The rain continues to fall with more race action. Here's the Dunlop podium. There's Claudio Corti on the HSBK. That's Houston Superbike right there, collecting his trophy. Now this is for the overall, and he gets to stand on the podium one more time for the Superstock 1000. Josh Hayes on the left part of your screen with our race winner, with his crew chief standing right there in the middle. There's Cameron Beaubier, and look at that, hold that trophy up high. And look, the poor riders, Jason, they have to stand in their leathers while the crew chief and the rest of the team get to stand in their rain outfits, you know.
I'm sure nobody's feeling bad right now down on that podium. And what a great result for Cameron. You know, really catapults himself back up into this championship chase with 25 big points, and a couple of the Yosh guys struggling back there a little bit today. So that's a big result for him and Josh.
Yeah, and you can look at this early season as, are we talking about championship? But these are the races that you've got to manage and you've got to get through in order to not give up a huge chunk. And now, take a look at these results. This is awesome. Beaubier and Hayes, your first of the Superbikes. Claudio Corti, the first Superstock 1000. He stands third. Larry Pegram with a great ride on that M4 Suzuki. Jake Gagne also on the Superbike, and Corey Alexander on the Ducati, finishing in second place in Superstock, 6th overall. Ryan Jones on the Superbike in 7th. Danny Eslick on the podium as well.
Roger Hayden got 9th, and we look back now, we got Hayden Gillum in 10th, Josh Herron 11th. We didn't see what happened to Steve, but I did see him pull over on the side of the track there when Cameron went by him. So Steve ended up 12th. Next is the reigning Supersport champion from Australia, Braden Elliott, finishes 13th, gets some points in his first debut after a big accident qualifying yesterday. Awesome result for Barrett Long and Bobby Fong back there in 15th.
I think a big surprise, Tony Elias, really 18th spot. I think we expected a little more from Tony with his experience, but we'll have to see what happened to him. Now, here's a look at the points as Roger Hayden continues to lead the way, but his lead over the rest of the field has shrunk dramatically, even though he extended 7 from Tony Elias.
Yes, he did. He had a 1-point lead coming in with Cameron Beaubier, a big jump. He's only 20 points back now, and he's got 2 DNFs on the year, so he's going to be making a big charge. Jake Gagne, Claudio Corti, Josh Herron back there. We look back into top 10 as Danny Eslick, Hayden Gillum, Sheridan Moraes, Larry Pegram jumps up just like that to 13th place with that great result today, all the way back to Josh Day, who we're hoping to have back soon, that Christy talked to earlier on.
And Corey Alexander with his 10 points today in 16th overall in his first of 5 races we expect to see. And some riders that are participating this week or participated in the last couple of races, like Jeff May, Kyle Wyman there with 8 points, and on back Chris Ulrich with 4 points, now retired. So you'll see him on the points tally the rest of the season, but don't expect him to collect any more points. Look at the rain coming down. Now here's a look at the Superstock Championship right now, as Josh Herron has 4 points over Bobby Fong, and Claudio Corti 6 back, and he is on the gas.
Yeah, he's got a couple wins. Going to be feeling a lot of confidence, especially knowing that we got another one of these races today and how much he beat the Superstock field by. He said something very intelligent down there. He's worried about his class. You see Danny Eslick there in 5th. Back David Anthony. Corey jumps up to 11th just with this one ride, because obviously we're very earlier in the year, all the way back down through the field. So I think that some of these riders are going to go make some big changes for this afternoon's race, and they got to cut the gap down to Claudio Corti. And I think Tony Elias is going to make some big changes too.
Yeah, I expect to see many different things from Tony Elias later on today. But when we come back, we're going to have some race highlights in case you're just joining us. So stay with us from New Jersey. Welcome back to a rainy New Jersey Motorsports Park, where I think the shortest podium ceremony of the year just happened. I'm sure all the riders want to get indoors and start to get their leathers on dryers, or at least their bodies on dryers, as this race started out with a wet track, but there was actually no rain falling, Jason.
Yeah, no, it was actually looking like it was going to clear up for us. And as you can see by watching our highlight package here, the conditions obviously deteriorated a lot. These guys started off, and there was some definite, it wasn't puddling up as bad, but what an incredible job by this field today as a whole. Not only getting through the first turn, but only really having one incident all day.
A lot of focus as Josh Hayes on the number 4 led early on as he passed his teammate Cam Beaubier after turn number 1. But Beaubier was having none of it as he decided to own turn 1. On the brakes he goes, and he would never relinquish the lead after that.
Yeah, we had a battle back here between 2 Superstock bikes running 2nd and 3rd in their class, between Corey Alexander and Danny Eslick, and Corey was able to slide up underneath Danny in turn 6 and go on in that bike's debut and finish 2nd today.
And there is the 24 of Tony Elias, who is 2nd in points, getting lapped by Cam Beaubier. And you can see the gap back to Josh Hayes on that one. Hayes thinking the better of trying to throw some shots at Cam Beaubier, as Beaubier continued with a head shake right there to try to find traction all race long after the rain fell, especially.
And you can see now at the end of this race exactly what it looked like. There is a checkered flag there, and there is a Yamaha Monster Graves bike coming across that line, and Cameron Beaubier. Both these guys are happy to get up on the podium. Big point scoring day for these two.
Steve Rapp there on the 15. I think they're happy just to get this race completely over with, as now after that short podium ceremony, spraying of champagne, and the race fans here absolutely love it. And why not? All you have to do is look skyward in order to wash some of that champagne off your face. Cameron Beaubier with a big smile as well, and a great race win. He talked about it, getting his season back on track. I think back-to-back wins is doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely doing it. And you know, he's only 20 points back. He can, and he knows that he can go out and maybe do the same thing again. He's not going to probably change very much on that bike. Now, his partner, his teammate said, we might be changing something. So we'll see how that plays out.
And Christy Lee is now joining us here in the booth. Gee, I don't understand why you don't want to be standing out there in the rain, just hanging out.
Well,
so
you know,
how was it? I mean, you know, the riders talked about it. The rain started falling halfway through the race. How brutal really was it getting down there?
I mean, you could really see a difference in the rainfall from race start to towards the end of the race. And I mean, you guys could see it visually. We could feel it out there. The wind picked up, the temperature dropped, and the rain picked up.
Wow. So how do you think? I mean, we thought, Christy, at the beginning of this race that we would see a lot more people falling off their motorcycles. Those conditions are very tricky. You know, with 18 laps to stay focused for that long, were you surprised that we only had one person tip over?
I mean, really, Greg, obviously we never want any type of conditions like this for race time, and we don't ever want to see any riders go down. But I would say it's pretty impressive that we went through a race like this with these types of conditions and came out clean with, you know, one rider down and maybe a few in, and everyone rode, for the most part, a clean race.
Yeah.
Best conditions out of the worst scenario.
I can say the same, Christy. I agree with you 100%. And, you know, just standing here and seeing it right now, and you can look at the Suzuki weather here. It's just gone back to pouring rain, and I think that there's going to be a lot of guys that not only brought their bikes back, but the crews are going to be really happy because they don't have to try to fix bikes before the next race. There's some surprises that we had there with Ryan Jones, I think, finishing 7th. I mean, that's outstanding. And we always talk about guys like Ryan who, you know, we got these wild card picks. This is what this weather does. You see Corey finishing 6th, and even Larry Pegram hasn't ridden for a year, comes out and finishes 4th. And these are the kind of things that you expect due to attrition and things like that in an event like this. We didn't have any of that today, and these guys just rode spectacular all day long, and now the crews can go to work, debrief their riders, and say, hey, what can we change to make the bikes better for this afternoon?
And keep in mind, this is just the beginning of racing here at New Jersey Motorsports Park, as we still have KTM RC Cup race number 2 coming up. Check that out on beIN Sports Connect, as well as the Super Sport Superstock 600 race, followed by Superbike race number 2. We'll have that covered beginning at 5 p.m. East right here on beIN Sports. So yeah, if you're looking at this weather thinking, how is it possible? Heck, if you're a NASCAR fan and you're thinking, wait a second, in NASCAR we certainly don't race in this stuff. Well, we certainly do in motorcycle racing because they just don't care and the show must go on.
I think that there's one team right now that's going to be working extra hard only because their riders are giving up big points today. Roger Lee and Tony Elias at the Yoshimura Suzuki team, they opened up a gap on those guys at the beginning of the year, and when we look at the big gaps in points and we saw how quick Cameron's got himself back into the championship race, I think Raj and Tony now have got to get in a little bit of a panic mode of like, hey, how can we not give up so many points in the second race today?
Well, you said that the riders played it safe in race number 1 because there's always race number 2 to worry about. Now the question is, are they still going to play it safe when race 2 comes along?
Looking at the results, what do you think about any surprises here for you, Christy?
Well, it's great to see number 71, Claudio Corti, on a Superstock 1000 bike, you know, up there gambling with the Superbike. So it's always great to see that. Of course, you know, 72, Larry Pegram. Yeah. Larry's back on the bike, right back in the action. Didn't miss a beat.
Didn't miss a beat. We get a look at Tony Elias and Raj Hayden now. I mean, both of them look steady enough. Tony looked a little uncomfortable, obviously, so they're going to go back, give him some better settings. Looking at the man of the hour, probably with Claudio Corti finishing 3rd on a Superstock bike overall. What a great story for him. I mean, we had 2 Italian bikes go 1-2 in the Superstock category, and it's nice to see the diversity that we're getting now in the MotoAmerica series through the different classes.
That's it. So a good look at the Yamaha R1 of Cameron Beaubier, followed by his teammate Josh Hayes. That was definitely earlier on in the race because Hayes was close and in touch. Eventually, Cameron Beaubier won by 4.7 seconds. And the lap times dropped when the rain fell by about 5 seconds. The fastest lap of Beaubier was a 40.4. Did a 46.8. Now, here's another look. 5 p.m. is Super Sport Superstock 600 race 2. We had one yesterday in the dry. And Superbike race number 2. What is going to happen to this weather? Is it going to let up here in Millville? I'll tell you right now, you'd be better off racing with a canoe. Well, we'll see you at 5 p.m. right here on beIN Sports. For Jason and Christy, I'm Greg. Thanks so much for joining our coverage, and we will see you in a few hours.